Welcome to CineLingo, where we break down the most gripping tales of espionage and deception. Today we're diving into Black Bag, a labyrinth of loyalty, betrayal, and the dangerous games played in the shadows of British intelligence. In the world of intelligence, trust is both the most valuable currency and the rarest commodity. For George Woodhouse, a seasoned SIS operative, this lesson is about to hit dangerously close to home. When a top-secret software program, codenamed Severus, is leaked, George is given just 7 days by his superior, Meacham, to identify the culprit from a list of 5 suspects. The twist? One of those suspects is his wife, Catherine, herself a formidable intelligence officer. The suspects form a tight-knit circle within British intelligence. Clarissa, an expert in satellite imagery, her boyfriend Freddie, a managing agent with ambition to match his charm, Zoe, the agency's perceptive psychiatrist, her boyfriend James, another managing agent, and finally Catherine, the woman who shares George's bed and possibly secrets of her own. To dig beneath the professional facades, George orchestrates an evening of calculated hospitality, inviting the 4 suspects to dinner. But this is no ordinary social gathering. With each glass raised and each course served, George has spiked their meals with a substance designed to lower their inhibitions. As wine flows and conversation deepens, the psychological game begins. "Let's play a game," George suggests with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. A game of truth. As the drug takes effect, the carefully maintained veneers begin to crack. The most explosive revelation? Freddie's infidelity to Clarissa, a betrayal she answers with a steak knife plunged into his hand, blood staining the pristine tablecloth. But while George plays puppet master at his dinner table, elsewhere in London, a more sinister scene unfolds. Meacham, George's superior who assigned him this very case, collapses in his home, a suspicious heart attack claiming his life as his whiskey glass shatters on the floor. The morning after the dinner party, George discovers a discarded theater ticket in his bedroom wastebasket. A minor detail, perhaps, except when Catherine denies having seen the film. For a man trained to spot inconsistencies, this small lie raises a large red flag. Breaking into his own wife's office, George discovers something troubling. Catherine is scheduled for a trip to Zurich, a trip she hasn't mentioned. "I need your help," George tells Clarissa, persuading her to redirect a spy satellite. Through the eye in the sky, he watches as his wife meets with a known Russian operative in Switzerland, a clandestine encounter that sends his suspicions soaring. The plot thickens when James pulls George aside with disturbing news. "Your wife has access to a Zurich bank account containing £7 million. It's unexplained and misdirected." In the sterile confines of a psychiatric evaluation, Zoe fixes George with a penetrating stare. "Tell me, does Catherine prioritize her career or her husband?" The question hangs in the air, simple yet devastating in its implications. Meanwhile, the relationships within this circle continue to fracture as Zoe abruptly ends her relationship with James, adding another layer of tension to the already volatile group. "Your husband suspects you," Freddie warns Catherine in a hushed conversation. "Be careful." But the true complexity of the situation is only beginning to emerge. While George had the satellite trained on Catherine in Zurich, something critical happened elsewhere. A Russian operative vanished from a Liechtenstein safe house with a copy of the Severus program. The operative is now racing toward Eastern Europe with a plan that could spell disaster, using Severus to trigger a nuclear meltdown, potentially killing thousands and destabilizing governments. Catherine, working with Clarissa to track the Russian, uncovers something even more disturbing. Their own boss, Stieglitz, may have deliberately allowed Severus to leak, viewing thousands of civilian casualties as acceptable collateral damage in a geopolitical power play. Taking matters into her own hands, Catherine leaks the Russian operative's location to a CIA contact. Within hours, a drone strike in Poland eliminates both Russians, along with the immediate threat. Back in London, George subjects all suspects except Catherine to polygraph tests, focusing on one key question: When did each first learn about Severus? That night, husband and wife finally compare notes and realize they've both been caught in someone else's web. They aren't opponents. They're both targets in an elaborate setup. "We're having another dinner party," George announces to the four suspects. But when they arrive, they find no meal waiting, just Catherine placing a gun on the table. "Tonight's game has higher stakes," George says coldly. George methodically unravels the truth. There weren't one but two simultaneous plots. First, Stieglitz and James conspired to leak Severus, intending to cause a nuclear catastrophe for political gain. Second, Zoe, driven by her Catholic faith, discovered this plan through her relationship with James and secretly enlisted Freddie to use Catherine to stop it. As accusations fly, James grabs the gun from the table, confessing to his role in the conspiracy and to murdering Meacham. He points the weapon at George and pulls the trigger twice. The gun, loaded with blanks, clicks harmlessly. But Catherine's gun, pulled swiftly from her bag, fires real bullets. James crumples to the floor, dead before he hits the ground. "Never exploit our fidelity to each other again," Catherine warns the survivors, her voice steel-edged and unwavering. In the dark of night, James's body sinks beneath the surface of a pond, a secret that binds the remaining conspirators together forever. Life at SIS continues. Reports are filed, missions are planned, as if nothing happened. In a quiet corridor, Catherine confronts Stieglitz. "Your plot failed. I suggest you remove yourself from the picture." In their home, away from the lies and deception of their professional lives, George and Catherine reaffirm what remains true, their love for each other. But questions linger as the Zurich account containing £7 million remains untouched, a loose thread in an otherwise neatly tied story, waiting for someone bold enough to pull it. In the world of espionage, truth is rarely pure and never simple. Black Bag reminds us that even those closest to us harbor secrets. And sometimes those secrets are what keep us alive. This has been CineLingo. Subscribe for more film breakdowns that take you beyond the screen and into the heart of cinema's most compelling stories.